and welcome. Tonight, 3 days after two traditional rulers were murdered in Ekiti State, gunmen kill another traditional ruler in Koro town in Kwara State. The state government vows to apprehend those responsible. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma condemns activities of pipeline vandals, which led to the death of 5 persons in Ohaji area in Imo State. And Federal High Court in Abuja declines to dismiss terrorism charge brought against the Chief of Staff to the River State Governor, Edison Ehie.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's Customs Service raises import duty rate for the 4th time in 14 months by 43%, following recent adjustments of exchange rates by the central bank.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles of Nigeria beat the Black Antelopes of Angola to reach the semi-finals of the Africa Cup of Nations.
From Abuja, Governor Ubasani orders immediate prosecution of an Islamic teacher for allegedly brutalizing an Almajiri child under his tutelage in Suleja, Niger State.
And in international news from London, a huge gas blast in the Kenyan capital Nairobi has killed at least 3 people and injured nearly 300.
And we start on a rather sad note. 3 days after 2 traditional rulers were killed in Ekiti State, gunmen have killed the traditional ruler of Koro, Oba Peter Shegun Aremu, in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State. The Olukoro of Koro, said to be a retired army general, was reportedly killed on Thursday night by the gunmen, who also kidnapped his wife and 2 other persons after invading the palace. Although Koro is located in Kwara State, it is a neighboring town to Ikoli and other communities in neighboring Ekiti State, where 3 traditional rulers were attacked and 2 of them killed some days ago. The state governor, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, described the attack as reckless, shocking, and abominable.
Koro town in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State is about 3 hours drive from Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. It's a boundary town between Kwara and Kogi State. It was a quiet and sleepy community until Thursday night, when the traditional ruler of the town, a retired army general, Oba Shegun Aremu, was killed by gunmen who invaded his palace. His wife and 2 other persons were abducted during the invasion. However, one of them has regained his freedom.
People just had some pandemonium around here, gunshots. Then people were panicked, and by the time we found out what was happening, it was our Oba that was shot dead, and his Olori was snatched away, and one other girl and one other man. But the other man was released in the bush, so the man is around now. It remains the Olori and the other girl.
A state government delegation led by the Deputy Governor, Mr. Kayode Alabi, is here to commiserate with the people. He assures them of the government's commitment to arrest the kidnappers and rescue the victims.
We can assure you, by the grace of God, we will do the needful. What happened last night was horrible, and we'll do everything within our power to arrest the kidnappers and bring back Kabi's wife and the other 2 people that were kidnapped.
The police in the state is also vowing that the perpetrators of the act will be brought to book.
We're working assiduously all night. We have not slept. And I can assure you we are everywhere. I don't want to divulge some of the things we are doing for obvious reasons. But be sure that we're doing a lot, and before long, the long arm of the law will catch up with them.
Security agents are presently in the community looking for clues that will aid the arrest of the gunmen. At the moment, the kidnappers are yet to contact the families of those abducted.
The governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, has condemned the state, which claimed 5 lives. The governor says frequent pipeline vandalism in the area was a cause of concern to the state government. Suspected vandals had vandalized oil pipelines at Obiti Rubber Estate on Wednesday, leading to the death of 5 of the vandals. Governor Uzodimma says the state cannot afford to be embroiled in continuous economic sabotage as a result of the activities of illegal oil bunkers. It says apart from the attendant loss of lives, pipeline vandalism has dealt a serious blow on the state of the economy. National Emergency Management Agency NEMA has embarked on an on-the-spot assessment to the site of that explosion. The Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, who led a team of NEMA officials, the State Emergency Management Agency, and security operatives, described this incident as very unfortunate and that could have been averted.
We are here, the site of the explosion. You can see behind us, and even you can perceive the smell. You can see dead bodies already littered on the way, and so on. We want to have on-the-spot assessment, not let me lead the on-the-spot assessment, and then we know what to do from there. We are here with SEMA, with the state government, NEMA from Abuja, NEMA directorates and directors here with us. We have the brigade commander of Enugu with us, of Owerri. Advice is never ever vandalize any government property. Pipelines should not be touched. What this has cost, over how many minutes of forest burnt, rubber forest gone.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Niger Delta Development, Mr. Abubakar Momo, is seeking stronger collaboration with the international oil companies in the Niger Delta region to devise new means of addressing the problem of crude oil theft and gas flaring in that region. Mr. Momo made the call at a meeting with representatives of the international oil companies in Abuja.
I'm therefore constrained to solicit and encourage the international oil companies operating in the Niger Delta region, other players in the industry, and major stakeholders to support and collaborate with the ministry to add value to the efforts of this government. Since the task of developing the region is enormous, but not unsurmountable, with just commitments and efforts, we can make a difference in building a region where peace, improved living standards, and economic prosperity for the nation at large are entrenched. The IOC should begin to take proactive measures in collaboration with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources to evolve modern technology to combat oil theft. We also seek your utmost collaboration as major partners in the oil and gas sector in reducing to the barest minimum gas flaring and its attendant environmental and health issues. Considering the country's commitment to end the flare by 2030, and more importantly now that gas has become a transitional property towards achieving a cleaner energy.
Let's head to Enugu State now, where the Governor, Peter Mba, is seeking the partnership of Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps and the Nigerian Immigration Service in areas of security and economic development. The Governor was speaking when he met with heads of both agencies who paid him a courtesy visit at the Government House in Enugu.
The Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service in the state leads this team of officials on a courtesy visit to the governor and to intimate him on the activities of the agency in Enugu State. The governor arrives shortly after, and the day's business commences. In her opening remarks, the state NIS boss, Mrs. Angelina Sambu, affirms the agency's commitment to the security and socio-economic well-being of Enugu citizens.
The Enugu State Command of the service will continue to operate within the ambits of its extant laws to check, control, as well as monitor the presence of non-Nigerians and their activities in Enugu State, so as to see that non-Nigerians in our midst are legal resident workers or visitors.
The governor believes that his desire to attract foreign direct investment to the state can be achieved if the agency ensures seamless visa and permit processing for potential investors.
But the foreign direct investment, as you know, would require a lot of services from the immigration. And this is where we see this collaboration working well. So that ours is to shield our prospective investors and ensuring that all the permits and licenses they need to operate lawfully in our state, they procure them.
As the governor concludes with the immigration, the newly deployed Enugu commandant of the NSCDC, Cyprian Otoibi, and his team also arrive on a courtesy call. Mr. Otoibi recounts his strategy, which, according to him, has yielded results in the city since he assumed office.
Deployment of highly trained undercover personnel to all the 16 local governments. Flashpoints and strategic locations within the state capital for intelligent information gathering to curb increasing spate of kidnappings, which is becoming the order of the day. 247, we patrol within the Enugu metropolis. As a result of this, some very important arrests have been made so far, of which one of them is a serving security officer vandalizing government property at the Enugu SME Center, who was arrested and being handed over to his agency for disciplinary action.
The elated governor wants him to apply same energy in guarding the state facilities against vandals.
We're still having to deal with vandalization and stealing of government assets. I received a call that some people went again and destroyed a valve somewhere around Apata, and we had water gushing out from there. So even with the locks that we have provided to protect the valves, we are still having to deal with these pockets of criminality. And we're also experiencing the same thing in locations where we have our water stands.
Governor Peter Mba also assures the NSCDC and the NIS of his administration's resolve to procure utility vehicles and other logistics for the agencies, and equally strengthen the collaboration with various security agencies to fight crime and criminality in the state.
Governor Omar Fintiri of Adamawa State has expressed his readiness to work with members of the opposition party for the development of the state and the country at large. The governor stated this in Yola, the state capital, when he returned from Abuja, where the Supreme Court affirmed his election victory. He is also promising to do more for the development of the state.
Governor Omar Fintiri arrives at the Aliyu Mustafa International Airport, Yola, to a rousing welcome from party members and supporters. From the airport to the streets, supporters lined the major streets of the state's capital to celebrate the verdict of the Adamawa State's governorship election.
We thank the judiciary for standing by the truth, and as a community and as a bona fide citizen of Adamawa, we are happy with the judiciary.
We are happy because we are going to see more development, more achievement for Adamawa State. Politics is over now. Let everybody contribute, support, and encourage our governor. Let's pray for him for the success of the next 4 years. We are happy for him.
An elated Governor Fintiri told journalists that he is prepared to work with the opposition to ensure the development of the state.
I've called on all Adamawa students to join me so that we will build Adamawa of our dream. And I want to assure you that we're on board with every citizen here. We're on board with our Adamawa people to ensure that we take our state to the greater height. I have never lost faith in the judiciary. I have said it time without number that they've been standing firm. They've been doing their job. They have never allowed their judgment to be on the shelf like Huduari did for INEC. So we will continue to work with them. We will continue to ensure that we partner with the judiciary so that we will build our democracy and we will build our country.
The governor hopes to focus on his plans for the state as he completes his second term in office.
In part two, after the break, Federal High Court in Abuja declines to dismiss terrorism charge brought against the Chief of Staff to the Rivers State Governor Edison Ehie. Please stay with us. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 3 days after two traditional rulers were murdered in Ekiti State, gunmen kill another traditional ruler in Koro Town in Kwara State. The state government vows to apprehend those responsible. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma condemns activities of pipeline vandals which led to the death of 5 persons in the Ohaji area of Imo State. Federal High Court in Abuja declines to dismiss terrorism charge brought against the Chief of Staff to the Rivers State Governor Edison Ehie. And a huge blast in the Kenyan capital Nairobi leaves 3 persons dead and nearly 300 injured. Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon of the Federal High Court in Abuja has declined to dismiss the terrorism offences brought against the current Chief of Staff to the Rivers State Governor, Mr. Edison Ehie. Justice Olajuwon held that Mr. Ehie, who was the then Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, lacked legal powers to request for dismissal of these charges. He upheld the submission of the counsel to the Inspector General of Police, Simon Logue, that Mr. Ehie was not yet competent to make any application until he appears in court to take his plea in the terrorism charge. Honorable Ehie, through his lawyer, Oluwole Aladoye, had applied with that the criminal charges against him and others be dropped on various grounds. He claims that the Federal High Court in Abuja has no jurisdiction to entertain the trial because the alleged offences were committed in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. In a brief ruling, Justice Olajuwon dismissed the request of the former Speaker, upholding the arguments of the Inspector General of Police, adding that the charge sheet only indicated that Mr. Ehie is at large and not yet listed as required by law. For more on the news at 10, we head over to our Abuja studios where Malkwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by. Hello, Malkwe.
Hello, Anne. Shall we say TGIF? Well, work continues for Governor Obasani of Kaduna State, who is demanding the immediate prosecution of an Islamic teacher for allegedly brutalizing an Almajiri child under his tutelage in Suleja, Niger State. The governor made the call when he received the victim, who is an indigene of Kaduna State, in his office, this Kashim Ibrahim government house. He describes the torture of the underage boy as totally unacceptable.
The 11-year-old boy, Isa Muazu, along with other children from similar Almajiri schools who have suffered abuse from their teachers at the Sangaya school in Suleja, Niger State, was brought back to Kaduna after he was allegedly tortured by an Islamic teacher. Receiving the boy in his office, Governor Obasani announced that the children, including Muazu, will be given free education under the Sangaya education system in Kaduna State.
So I'm happy the children are here. They're looking very happy and they're back home. And of course, Kaduna State government will continue to look at their education as we are doing. Because in Kaduna State, education is free, as you are aware. We have a choice. If we want to do both Islamic studies and formal education, we have schools. It's a matter of choice.
Governor Sani also says the Islamic teacher would not go unpunished, vowing to press criminal charges against him.
We need to ensure that they go to school. So that is why we're here. And I'm happy. The parents are also happy because I'm not sure if they know the condition of their children until the incident happened. And nobody would want his child to be abused like the way he was abused.
Emphasizing that no part of the Holy Quran supports the dehumanization torture of underage children under any guise. Governor Sani reaffirmed his commitment to prevent any form of child abuse in Kaduna State.
Back here in the FCT, the Minister of the Federal Capital, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is assuring residents of the Gaba Tokolo community in Buhari Area Council that all unfinished projects in the area will be completed under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. The minister made the pledge during the flag-off ceremony for the rehabilitation of the Gabatokolo 7.2-kilometer road. He describes the state of roads and insecurity in the FCT, explaining that his administration is committed to tackling both challenges.
The Rural Road Rehabilitation Program of the Federal Capital Territory Administration moves to Buari Area Council, and it's the turn of the 7.2 kilometers Gaba-Tokulo Road in the area. The minister's arrival signifies the commencement of the event. Residents of the area are appealing to the minister to see to the completion of the projects in the area, as the dualization of the road will open up the farming communities.
Construction of Shere Galui to Pape Road. So we have a road here, this particular road that is linking here. It's not up to 15 minutes if you are going to Pape. From Pape to town, it's not up to 5 minutes. But today, it has been a problem. We have no road to town.
Our farmers, they are finding it very difficult to take their farm items to the market. You have made it easy for us.
This afternoon's event.
The FCT administration is assuring residents of the completion of all unfinished and ongoing projects in the area, while security remains a major area that the administration hopes to tackle.
All your requests of the abandoned projects, which was initially to be carried out by the FCDA, I can assure you, by the directive of Mr. President, go home and sleep with your two eyes closed. We are determined. Whether the criminals are here, whether they are not here, whether their relatives are here, go and tell them that I said, be ready. Go and tell them to be what? Ready. If you're an informant, go and be ready. The time for you to go has come. We will do everything possible to make sure you will not sleep.
Issue of insecurity that is bothering our communities. However, our boss, Mr. Project, the Sarkinyaki Konkuri, is set to change the narratives.
The minister then flags off the project. The FCT minister is hoping to extend the Rural Road Rehabilitation Project to other area councils to bridge the infrastructure gap between the rural and urban communities in the nation's capital.
Staying with infrastructure development, Governor Alex Oti of Abia State has reiterated his administration's commitment to reverse years of decay and deficit in infrastructure as it intensifies construction work on 26 new roads, which are at different stages of completion. During an interactive session with journalists at the government house in Umuahia, the state capital, Governor Oti said about 6 new roads have been commissioned since he assumed office.
At the last count, 26 new roads are in different stages of completion. We have commissioned about 6 brand new routes or newly reconstructed routes. Information reaching me is that we have another 4 or thereabout completed and ready for commission. Our selection of routes is based on their strategic importance. Very soon, we will also commence our efforts in ridding Abia of flooding, particularly at the area market and all the corridors around there.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria Customs Service raises import duty rate for the 4th time in 14 months by 43%, following recent adjustment of exchange rates by the central bank. That's on Business News. You join us again. The immediate past governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, has charged well-meaning indigents of the state to contribute to the development of their communities through the provision of basic social amenities. The former governor stated this while commissioning a maternity hospital, a mosque and sports center at the community in Ohaji local government area of the state.
After handing over to his successor, Yahaya Bello, in the company of his wife Amina Bello, the governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, and his deputy Joel Oyibo, were in the Central Senatorial District to commission some projects constructed by barrister Amina Bello, the wife of the former governor. They were received with rousing cheers. At the venue for the commissioning are some top government functionaries, traditional rulers, APC faithful, and members of the beneficiary communities in Adavi.
Excellency, Mr. Amina Bello, in your kind gesture, observe a dilapidated family exchange in this area. She decided to renovate it, upgrade, and keep it. And he kept it with modern facilities to a 30-bedded general hospital for the benefit of our people.
The former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, speaks on the essence of the project, even as he assured the people that his successor will do more.
This is selfless service, and this is how we do it, and this is how we did it in 8 years of my stewardship in Kogi State. That is why my wife took after me. And you can imagine and expect what the governor is going to do for Kogi State, for Ibiraland, and for this Eka community.
Governor Usman Ododo thanks the former First Lady for providing the projects for the people and promised to deliver more on the dividends of democracy.
I want to sincerely appreciate you for your prayers, for your support, and the trust in our mission to serve the good people of Kogi State.
Well-being and vitality of humanity.
The cutting of the tape signified the commissioning of the maternity hospital, the mosque and sports centers. The wife of the former governor, in the company of some top government functionaries, also commissioned the market at Adavi.
This project kind of brings back, it brought back memories, a lot of beautiful memories, because the story of the person standing before you today started in this market.
As they depart, well-meaning Nigerians have been urged to do same by providing and supporting the efforts of the government to meet the needs of the people.
Electoral matters now. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is making last-minute preparations for the conduct of rerun and by-elections for some federal and state constituencies taking place in 26 states across the country tomorrow. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has already announced the restriction of movement in the affected areas, promising to ensure a hitch-free conduct of the exercise.
Less than a year after the conduct of the 2023 elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission is in most states across the country to conduct rerun and by-elections for federal and state constituencies. Voters in 658 polling units in 3 local government areas of Taraba State will be participating in the exercise as they vote for who will represent Jalingo Yorozing Federal Constituency.
INEC is very much prepared for the conduct of the 3rd February 2024 by-election in the 3 local governments of Jalingo, Zing, and Yoro, in that order alphabetically. And then right now, as you can see, as we invited you, is for the distribution of the sensitive materials, which is in good time.
In Benue State, Governor Hyacinth Alia calls for a security meeting ahead of the exercise. The meeting has become expedient because of tension caused by political situation in the state as a result of disagreements between the governor and some members of his party.
I'm calling for all the anxieties and the tensions that are built up in the air to please just calm down. Peace is going to reign, and we are not a lawless people.
The election is holding in 6 wards of Guma 1 state constituency, and the state police commissioner is reiterating the assurances from the governor.
All hands are on deck, and we have put everything in place. We are going to deploy massively tomorrow to give assurance to electorate to come out and to have confidence. And again, to warn those that are having the mind to disrupt the exercise, that they will not have their way tomorrow.
Security is also at the heart of the preparation for the conduct of the election for Mayo Belwa State constituency in Adamawa State. The election will take place in 7 polling units, and the materials have been distributed.
Non-sensitive materials have been deployed to the local government 2 weeks ago. And we were in receipt of the sensitive materials on Wednesday. And today morning, we were at the central bank to hand over the sensitive material, that's the ballot papers and the result sheets, to the electoral officer in charge of that local government for onward distribution to the poll officials ready for the election tomorrow.
The Court of Appeal had ordered a rerun of the elections in some polling units, citing electoral malpractices.
In other news, the Belgian government is raising an alarm over what it describes as an exponential increase in the number of illegal migrants from Nigeria entering Belgium and other European countries. The Director General Office for Foreigners for the Belgian government, Mr. Freddy Rosemont, made the observation in Abuja at the launch of an awareness campaign to educate the Nigerian public on the dangers of illegal migration into Belgium.
First of all, the number of asylum seekers the last 2 years went up, which is not logical. There are elections here, there is no blind violence, there are no earthquakes, there is no persecution in the sense of the 51 Geneva Convention. But we see that the number is going up and going up quite quickly, 22, 23. The number of people who get a positive decision in their asylum claim is almost none. Almost zero. So all those people are spending their money, spending their time, spending their energy by making an asylum claim who is not going to end up in a positive decision and in an spirit to stay in Belgium. We had to limit the reception of asylum seekers only to people who are vulnerable. And for us, vulnerable, that means families, women with children. No, men alone are not in that group. We also see that a lot of people, especially girls, exclusively girls, are forced into prostitution. In the big Belgium cities, Antwerp, Brussels, we still have quarters where the prostitution is not dominated, but it is exclusively Nigerian. They are all girls from Nigeria, often from the region, Edo State, the region of Benin City, and they all have been tracked into that kind of job, that kind of occupation.
Well, that's all from our studios in Abuja. It's back now to you, Anne.
Thank you, Malpe. The federal government is set to roll out $617 million fund for investment in digital and creative enterprises. A statement from the Minister of Art, Culture and the Creative Economy, Mrs. Hannatu Musawa, states that the fund is in collaboration with the African Development Bank, the AFDB. The statement adds that the decision was made at a high-level meeting between the Minister and the Director General of the AFDB, Mr. Lamin Barrow, in Abuja. It also adds that the minister highlighted the huge potential of the creative economy to generate employment opportunities for millions of young Nigerians. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is commending the efforts of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, for taking the lead in the use of compressed natural gas as an alternative to premium motor spirit. And the minister made this remark when he met with the leadership of the association in Abuja.
The introduction of the Green Energy Initiative, in other words, the federal government's investment in the CNG project. In the wake of the removal of fuel subsidy, of course, it was expected that the price of PMS will go up. This will in turn affect the price of the transport costs for Nigerians going to and fro their various places of work. The federal government immediately thought it wise, in addition to other measures, to introduce the CNG. The CNG is expected to bring down the cost of transportation by more than 50%. And I'm happy that IPMAN is in the forefront in this vanguard of achieving the CNG initiative. I will call on you to continue to partner and to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in this direction.
The federal government plans to resuscitate the Ajaokuta steel plant. It remains a top priority for them as discussions are in top gear to concession the plant to foreign steel makers with the required capacity to deliver. The Minister of Steel Development, Mr. Shuaibu Abubakar Audu, stated this at a media chat with journalists in Abuja. According to him, it will require about $5 billion to revive the steel company that has been moribund for over 4 decades.
Ajaokuta Steel Complex needs about $2 to $5 billion to revive the entire steel plant. The conversations that we're having with Luan Steel, with Jindal Steel, with all the other local producers that want to bring in FDIs, including the concession of Ajaokuta and the potential inflows that will come from that, would be in excess of $10 billion. That's where the $10 billion will come in from as foreign direct investments. But we're not waiting to have all the $2 to $5 billion from Ajaokuta. We want to raise $35 billion to restart the light steel mill. All the major legal cases have been extinguished at this point in time by the payment of that $496 million with reference and in relation to Ajaokuta and Itape. We want to create a 10-year roadmap for the revival of the steel industry, steel and metals industry, non-ferrous metals industry in Nigeria. Part of what that would involve would be to concession the Ajaokuta Steel Complex to people that have the core competence to be able to get the job done.
We have more for you this time in the world of business. Will Ibong has more.
Thank you, Anne, and welcome to Business News. Now, the federal government, through the Nigeria Customs Service, has increased the rate for import duties by 43%. The latest development follows the recent upward adjustment of the exchange rate at the foreign exchange market by the central bank from 951 naira 84 kobo to 1,356 naira 42 kobo against the dollar. The increase, which is the 4th time in just over a year, also comes after the customs increased import duties by as much as 22.24% in December last year. Meanwhile, the naira depreciated by 37.9% to 1,435 naira 53 kobo at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, NAFEM, today, majorly influenced by the FMDQ's revision of the exchange rate calculation methodology amid the CBN's circular on harmonization of reporting requirements of foreign currency exposure of banks. Meanwhile, the economic think tank, the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises, has reacted to the latest hike in import duties charged by the Nigerian Customs. In a statement released today by its Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Muda Yusuf, the CPP said that the drastic upward review of the exchange rate for the computation of import duty would have devastating effect on businesses across all sectors of the country. It calls on CBN to reverse the decision as businesses are yet to recover from the shocks of the currency devaluation by the central bank due to the unification of the exchange rate, which has driven the official exchange rate to 1,400 naira. Now, still on the monetary issues, Nigeria's central bank has announced its decision to stop daily debit of the cash reserve ratio for commercial banks. In a statement released today, the financial market regulator said it will now be adopting an updated CRL mechanism that is intended to facilitate banks' capacity for planning, monitoring, and aligning with its records. The latest decision by the CBN means commercial banks in the country will retain more customer deposits. It is also expected to serve as a significant boost for Nigerian companies in need of cash to finance their activities. Now we head to the domestic equities market, where it closed the final trading session today on an upbeat mood as the all-share index rose by 1.57%. Inijon Mekwa tells us more.
Hello, Will. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. We're happy to say that the NGX is closing the week with a bang. And yes, it's back up 1.57%, and it's at 104,421.23 at the close of Friday's trade. The money is even more interesting. We see that we have crossed over to the 57 trillion naira, and it's all thanks to the figures. They drove this. You see FBN Holding, UBA, GTCO, Axisco, Zenith Bank, they all gained today after 2 consecutive days of profit-taking. Investors are smiling back on them, but they didn't do it alone. The sectors also added to this. So when we look at the sectors, obviously the banking, right, the industrial goods and oil and gas, very marginal, but they contributed. O&O and Eternal Oil did this. And so I'm happy to say that we've had 2 losses, but the market closes with the bull.
And that's a wrap on business news. It's back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. The United Nations Top High Court says it has jurisdiction to hear a case brought against Russia by Ukraine. Kiev had accused Moscow of falsely using genocide law to justify its brutal full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. And here's Simon Puse with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A huge gas blast in the Kenyan capital Nairobi has killed at least 3 people and injured nearly 300. A government spokesperson said a lorry carrying gas exploded in Embakasi district at around 11:30 in the evening, igniting a huge ball of fire. Housing, businesses and cars were damaged, with video showing a huge blaze raging close to a block of flats. Earlier, the government had said the blast happened at a gas plant. The cause is still being established. Embakasi Police Chief Wesley Kimeto said a child was among those who died in the explosion, adding that the death toll could rise. The Kenyan Red Cross said it had taken 271 people to hospital and treated 27 others on site. Officials say the US has approved plans for a series of strikes on Iranian targets in Syria and Iraq. The strikes will take place over a number of days, officials said, and weather conditions will likely dictate when they are launched. It comes after a drone attack killed 3 US soldiers in Jordan close to the Syrian border on Sunday. The US blamed an Iranian-backed militia group for that attack. That group, the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, is believed to contain multiple militias that have been armed, funded and trained by Iran's Revolutionary Guards Force. It said that it was responsible for Sunday's strike. US President Joe Biden has approved sanctions on 4 Israeli settlers accused of attacking Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Mr. Biden signed a broad executive order saying violence in the West Bank had reached intolerable levels. The sanctions block the individuals from accessing all US property, assets and the American financial system. Violence in the West Bank has spiked since Hamas launched its unprecedented attack on Israel on the 7th of October. A former CIA officer has been sentenced to 40 years in prison for leaking a trove of classified hacking tools to whistleblowing platform WikiLeaks. Joshua Schulte was also found guilty of possessing child abuse images. Prosecutors have accused him of leaking the CIA's Vault 7 tools, which allow intelligence officers to hack smartphones and use them as listening devices. They said the leak is one of the most brazen in US history. Schulte shared some 8,761 documents to WikiLeaks in 2017, amounting to the largest data breach in the history of the CIA. A US mother on trial for failing to stop her son from carrying out a deadly school shooting has sought to put the blame on her husband.
We would talk, we did a lot of things together.
Jennifer Crumbly, taking the stand in her own defense, told jurors that the gun she and her husband purchased for their son was not her responsibility. Mrs. Crumbly is the first parent to go on trial for a mass shooting carried out by a child. Her husband, James, is facing a separate trial on the same charges. If found guilty, they each face up to 15 years in prison. Their son is serving life in prison for killing 4 classmates at Oxford High School in Michigan in 2021. He was 15 years old at the time of the attack. The suspect in an acid attack in South London was convicted of a sexual offence in 2018 and was later granted asylum. Police are looking for Abdul Shakur Azadi, who was last seen in North London on Wednesday evening. A mother and her 3-year-old daughter hurt by the corrosive substance could have suffered life-changing injuries in the attack. Police have warned people not to approach Azadi and to instead call 999. The 31-year-old woman and her daughter remain in hospital, along with her older daughter. And climate campaigner Greta Thunberg has defended climate activists facing prosecution in court, saying we must remember who the real enemy is. The 21-year-old was arrested during a demonstration near the Intercontinental Hotel in Mayfair on the 17th of October. Oil executives had been meeting inside for the Energy Intelligence Forum. Ms. Thunberg appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court after previously denying breaching the Public Order Act 1986. She is accused of breaching Section 14 of the Act by blocking the entrance to the hotel. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, we begin with some cheering news for Nigerians. Ademola Lookman scored his 3rd goal in 2 games as the Super Eagles of Nigeria advanced to the semi-finals of the Cup of Nations this evening with a 1-0 victory over Angola in the last 8. Now, Lookman again stole the limelight from Victor Osimhen by following his brace of the 2-0 defeat of Cameroon in the last 16 by breaking the deadlock 4 minutes before halftime at the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium. Super Eagles then saw the game out before a crowd of 18,757 in Abidjan, with Osimhen finding the net only for his effort to be disallowed after the VAR ruled him to be offside. The 3-time continental champions advanced to a last 4 tie next Wednesday against Cape Verde or South Africa in the central Ivorian city of Bouaké. And we also understand that DR Congo are already up 3-1 against Guinea and are in a good position to reach the semi-finals of the competition, where they will meet the winner between Mali and Cote d'Ivoire. Well, still on the AFCON, more updates now. South Africa's coach Hugo Broos says the Bafana squad don't underestimate their next opponent, Cape Verde, even though their recent win against Morocco gave them a boost of confidence. Now, while most teams at the AFCON rely heavily on players based in Europe, South Africa stand out in having an almost entirely home-based squad at the ongoing tournament.
You know, when you play a game against the favorite of AFCON and you win it, I think you did a great performance, and that performance gave us a boost of confidence and belief in ourselves. So I think we will be ready for the game of tomorrow. We don't underestimate that team of Cape Verde. Okay, they are not the same team like Morocco with all the high-quality players who play in big teams in Europe. But what I saw from the team, I think we don't have to underestimate them.
Away from football, all is now set for the Limelight Heavyweight Eliminator bouts between British-Nigerian boxer Dan Aziz and Joshua Boatsi on Saturday at the Wembley Arena. The fight, which was originally billed for October the 3rd last year, was rescheduled after Aziz picked up a back injury during his training. But Super Dan believes a win will elevate his boxing career.
Yeah, it means a lot, you know. I get a lot of people from overseas, my parents, Nigerian, they're always getting calls, you know, from back home, you know, come and do it for Nigeria and whatnot. So you also got that national pressure as well as the UK. So yeah, it's good, man, you know, two British fighters, but I've, you know, got African heritage, so it makes for a big fight and it makes for a big event. I'm predicting victory, man. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'm envisioning, that's all I picture, that's all I've got in my mind. However it comes, within the distance, points, whatever, I just envision victory.
And that's a wrap on Sports News tonight. Again, congratulations to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I am Kelly. Thank you guys. Back to Anne.
Congratulations indeed to us. And the main news again. Gunmen today invaded Koro town in Kwara State, where they killed the traditional ruler of the town, Oba Peter Shegun Aremu, and abducted his wife and 2 others. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful weekend. Good night.